This is the Rolling with Tay Podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and today my guest is Richard Cox, the Executive Director of Team Unity and the event organizer of the Harlem Skyscraper Cycling Classic, which has been taking place over 50 years. That's amazing. Thank you and welcome. Thank you and thank you again for being a guest once again.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come back. And it's always a pleasure to once again roll with Tay.
I like that. How are you doing today? How's everything going?
It's so interesting because, perhaps the last way you saw me on Father's Day is similar to how I look now. I still have the t-shirt on. I have the hat on. But in reality, the post-event is just as difficult as the pre-event. And a lot of people don't understand that once everyone goes home and once the cycling classic is over, and we had a spectacular, this is about our 54th year, was spectacular. Once everything is over, we still have to deal with the variety of city agencies to finalize the event that went on, most notably with the NYPD, FDNY, sanitation, Department of Transportation. The list goes on and on and on. So it may be over for everybody else, but for myself personally, I still have to engage and do post reports and so forth. So it's been a relaxing but yet a strenuous week following the classic.
Wow. I want to ask one question first. So how long is the wrap out? Like, I work in TV production. So we say, the pre, preparing for the event, and then wrap is post the event. How long is that usually for you?
Yeah, it goes until the last check has been cashed. And it's kind of interesting. The reason I say that is a lot of the athletes that participate, because of their schedules, and some of the others that participate, whether it's in production mode or whatever, sometimes they don't get a chance to go to the bank and deposit checks or whatever is affiliated with the race. So it could be November of 2026 or even going into January 2027. And we see a check hit the account and it was like, hey, that was from last year. We already closed out the books. But, you have to start revisiting a lot of things. But I say that jokingly. Usually we can wrap everything up, by the middle of July.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we can usually wrap everything up by the middle of July. Usually I give folks a small break because usually right after the event, depending on what day the event falls on, there's a couple of holidays that come up. Obviously, we have the Juneteenth holiday fell prior to the event this year, which was a good and bad thing. Because what it did, it actually gave the city a day off prior to our event.
Yeah.
So we had to roll our schedule back. But interesting enough, this year, because of the Knicks championship, multiple city agencies were not in their office because of the parade.
Yeah.
So we had the disadvantage of the 19th and the 18th. So everything we have to do is on the 17th to get that squared away. And then now after the event, you now have to deal with several of the holidays, including the one coming up this weekend, with the Independence Day weekend. So, it kind of varies, but we try to get everything squared away by mid-July.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't think about that. All the holidays and dealing with the city agencies and them not being in their office. So, yeah, makes sense. Dang. But I came this year, I brought my mom along. I'm so glad I got a chance to make it. The day before, I did a ride with some friends to Philly. So I was super tired, but I'm like, I got to go out there. Black Girls Do Bike was out there. I had to go again and just support the Harlem Skyscraper Classic. And everyone that was racing, people I knew. So it was a great event, and I'm glad I got my mom got a chance to see it. She's heard me talk about it, but she's like,
Hmm.
I don't know what this is. So she was
Yeah.
even into it, watching it, and yeah, I had a good time,
Yeah.
and the weather was good. Last year it was kind of like, I remember I had a jacket on. So
Yeah. Last year we started out with a little mist and rain and so forth,
yeah.
beginning of the race. But like the announcer said last year, Ace, he says, well, once that first race gets off
Hmm.
and you're able to see that first pack take the first turn and there's no accidents, then we're gonna be pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
But it's good to see everybody again. I mean, you just mentioned them, but hats off to Black Girls Do Bike and the Bahati Foundation.
Yes.
They take an amazing load off my shoulders when it comes to preparing and executing the events for the youth, for the kids.
Hmm.
That is a tremendous task. That task is almost as difficult as putting the entire race together.
Mm.
So just organizing kids, you know, getting them squared away inside the park, helmets, the safety classes. It's one of those line items that, without those two organizations, the burden would be a lot more on
Hmm.
our executive team to get this together. So once again, hats off to Black Girls Do Bike and the Bahati Foundation for coming in and taking that load off my shoulders.
Yeah. And the kids really enjoy it. I saw a young man, he was riding a bike, he had his medal on. I said, congratulations. He was like, thank you, so proud. Because you also do races at the end of their bike handling skills, and we teaching them how to ride a bike if they don't know how to ride a bike, or just proper bike handling skills. And it's great to see them actually on the course racing. So yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at a couple of the youth that were out there, and one young man rode past me, and he had a championship jersey from I'll say 2017 or 2018, and his parent bought him that jersey. And I said, young man, I said, you have to stand right here for a second. I said, I got to get a picture with you. I said, because one day, here you are wearing this particular jersey from the past, that you could be one day wearing one of the jerseys of the present when you compete,
Mm,
later on. But, it's very, very inspiring to see that young man um, have his jersey. Obviously, he was wearing like a small,
yeah.
know, but just to see him with that jersey on, riding around the course, with his medal on, participating in the youth activities was a great inspiration and great sight to see.
Yeah. That is always good to see that and get them involved early and see, you know, expose them to other sports, which I think is really important. I I didn't know this was a thing until I became an adult. Like, oh, okay. Maybe if I would have seen this when I was younger, I would have asked my mom and my dad to, like, oh, get me a coach, or I want to race. But I didn't know that was so far from, my mind. I just saw what was in front of me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, when people take a look at that, it comes down not only to ride, but to learn the skills to ride competitively. And that's a big difference. There are several folks who came out to the event this year for the first time. And they said, I like to ride, but I don't know how to ride like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, well, what is like that? And they said, well, do you see how close they are up on one another? Do you see the speed that they're doing? They said that alone frightens me. So they said, I could ride, but I need to learn how to ride like that to be in a competitive competition. So that's what differentiates our event. And I tell everybody this all the time. I said, this is what differentiates our event from some of the other bicycle events that take place in New York City. When you're out there doing one of those tours, you're just out there riding throughout the 5 boroughs doing tour, and it's not in the level of competition. Everybody's going at their own pace. Everybody's doing their own activities or sub activities. When you're at the Harlem Skyscraper, it's a competitive activity. So therefore, you have to change that mindset to get out there. So that's what I like about our event. It's a competitive activity. It's not like a tour. You're looking at real competition here.
Okay, I'm saying this, I probably said this last year. I'm saying this now. It's being recorded with you. I am gonna race next year.
Great.
I'm gonna throw my hat in the race, as they say. So
Okay. We definitely want to see you out there.
get out there.
I want to present the championship jersey to you next year. Category 4 or 5 women. Category 4 or 5 women will go out to you. We're calling it out right now.
Okay, that's woo. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
I'm
you're
I'm
gonna win.
like
You're gonna win it in the sprint.
I'm like those people like ride like that. That's totally different. But yeah, that does kind of um scare me to be so close to someone because it seems like you sneeze, it's everybody's going down. So yeah, but I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, like I
So
said, category 4 or 5 women. That'll be your category next year. We look forward to it.
okay, all right. So let's jump back a little bit. For those of my viewers who aren't familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got involved in the Harlem Skyscraper Cycling Classic?
Well, my journey begins back in 1960. Excuse me. Growing up in the Sugar Hill area of Harlem, which is an area that's on the if you would take a look at Harlem as a map, it's the area that's on the northwest side of Harlem. Um, to the north of us is an area that we call Washington Heights, and the areas south of us are looked upon as Manhattanville and so forth. So that's the area that I was born in. The reason that they call it Sugar Hill because the property there is sweet. You have a lot of brownstones that are there, a lot of high developed properties that are there, people with backyards. I mean, it was a great place to be growing up there in the early days of Harlem. So when I got into cycling in the late 80s and the early 90s, there was a person who was actually running a lot of the large events in New York City, including the Harlem Skyscraper. His name was Detective David Walker. And Detective David Walker actually paid a visit to an event that I was running over at Grant's Tomb at that time. And him and I spoke, and he said, I can really use some help with the skyscraper event. So I'm cutting a lot of things out of the story, obviously,
Mhm.
for the essence of time. But him and I started working together in the late 80s, early 90s, working with the skyscraper event. So that's why if you take a look at some of the old advertisements, old posters,
Mhm.
you're going to see the skyscraper logo, but you're going to see Team Unity mentioned in the advertisements as well, because we worked right alongside David Walker
Mhm.
until he passed away into 2008. When he passed away in 2008, the race shuffled through a few hands
Mhm.
before we came back in 2015 as the sole producer and event organizer of the Harlem Skyscraper Cycling Classic. My own personal journey in the event, I competed in the event, younger person, young and younger person at the event. Um, One of the funniest stories, and it is a story, but everybody loves this. He likes to tell this story. When you speak to Nelson Vales, the Olympic champion. So Nelson tells a story about him and I when we were kids and when we competed in the Harlem Skyscraper. And I beat him in the sprint as a kid. And I was the one that was awarded the Mickey Mouse watch, which was the prize for the kids at that time. And he was not happy. He was not happy. Um, but the moral of the story is that he turned his anger of not winning that particular day into his inspiration to become an Olympic champion. What did that do? That made him train harder. He became a bicycle messenger in New York City. And he was learning how to dodge between traffic in New York City, all on a fixed gear bike. This later caught on to folks who knew of him in cycling, him coming out and winning other events at the skyscraper, and then going on to Olympic glory. So, my personal participation has been at all different levels of the Skyscraper Cycling Classic. And, I'm looking to continue that for, a couple of more years before it'll be time for me to pass along the realm and pass along to the next person who's going to come and keep our community at the forefront.
So you know firsthand about being in a race in the Harlem Skyscraper. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I've competed in my own race. And what's interesting though is that we actually had a team called Team Unity. And that team competed in the skyscraper throughout the 90s. Even the person, one of the folks who joined the announcing crew this year on stage, he made a reference to that. And he said, "Oh, there's Richard standing over there." He said, "Richard remembers when I used to race for his team back in 1995. And, it's true. We had a spectacular racing squadron. Some of the guys that we raced together back in the 90s, they still come out to the event. We all take these pictures. Some of us are still riding. Matter of fact, James Joseph, who rides for Team United, still competes. So every year we always say we're going to put the team back together on some level. Every year we say that. So you never know, because next year is the 55th anniversary of the Skyscraper event. So you never know. Team Unity may make a comeback in 2027.
Wow. Well, I'll be there to see it. So hopefully Team Unity will be out there. And speaking of Team Unity, tell us a little bit more about it and your mission behind this. Because is it a production or event or community organization, or is it a combination of all three or four?
Yeah. The way how we describe Team Unity is that Team Unity is really an advocate for the social determinants of health. We base it upon improving community well-being by promoting multicultural education, diversity, and of course, what we talked about in terms of the determinants of health. So when we do that, we look at things in terms of encompassing athletic mentorship, culinary, performing arts, wellness, social justice advocacy. There is so much under the Team Unity umbrella. But, it all falls under those 5 determinant health factors. So outside of the skyscraper, and that falls under the athletic mentorship, we also have other divisions within sports that we also do the same thing. For example, I think before you had mentioned us with pickleball. Pickleball being a fast rising sport in America, but not really a sport that is looked upon as an alternative in Harlem and in other urban communities. So Team Unity being part of orchestrating and sponsoring Harlem Pickleball, it gives us a chance to take that message not only to, the folks who are just out there saying, "Hey, I just want to try this," but we try to make it something structured, whereas we're looking at taking youth off the streets, give them something else to do. Also taking adults who are looking to, we have a division called Senior Paddles. So, you're looking at folks 55 years of age and older who are out there trying to get some more activities into their lives. So we do that, of course, with pickleball. We also do that with lacrosse. We are serving as the fiscal sponsors for Uptown Lacrosse, which is a great program. It brings folks out from the community. They have dozens of children coming out there trying to do what? Learn lacrosse. Lacrosse is definitely not an indigenous sport of Harlem. Let's put it back that way. We know, from its origins with the Native Americans and so forth. But we just have to take a look at another way to get our children active and have them stop sitting at home and playing video games and on the cell phone. We need to get them out there and get them active like we were when we were younger. I forgot how old you are, but at least I know when
Yeah.
I was younger. So
Yeah.
not only do we have pickleball, but we have lacrosse. We also have NFL flag football.
Mm.
So we are so happy to be sponsoring and fiscally sponsoring Harlem Elite NFL flag football. Great opportunity for young men and young women who want to get out there and try the flag sport. Now, the flag sport will be promoted once again during the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles
Hmm.
as an Olympic sport. So when we go out there and do these flag football opportunities, we're just looking out there and saying, hey, that could be one of the next Olympians. Other than we had a cycling Olympian, we might have a flag football Olympian, coming out of Harlem. And then we also now are involved with another great program called the Dugout. The Dugout is a program where folks will be able to have 24 hours a day, or as we say, all year round. Let me say 24 hours a day, but all year round access to athletic training facility for baseball and softball. So that's what Team Unity is doing on that particular point of that determinate health. Now,
Hmm.
we also take a look at wellness, health and wellness. And, Team Unity's been involved with so many different projects in terms of CSAs and farmers markets and farm stands. We currently have a farmers market slash farm stand located on Central Park North at 110th Street. So as soon as you come across 110th Street, right there, Malcolm X Boulevard, come directly through the farmer's gate, and you will see the Unity Market, which is there every Saturday from roughly 11 o'clock to roughly 6 p.m. every Saturday, including this Saturday coming up for the holiday. We'll be there. So, like I said, it's so many ways that our organization addresses the social determinants of health in the community that every day is a brand new day. Every day we're trying to make a difference in our community, and that's what really keeps me going. Every day is not the same day.
I didn't know. I knew about the pickleball, of course. And I believe I knew about the flag football, but I didn't know about the lacrosse. That is, that's shucks. Why we don't have
Yeah,
like nothing like that in the Bronx?
yeah.
I'm
But it goes even beyond that. It goes even beyond that. We also have an excellent relationship and an excellent fiscal sponsorship with Black Girl Magic Day, which is an organization that is looking to really elevate the young Black woman experience.
Mm,
So this way, when she goes into teen years, into adulthood, a lot of those stigmas will be erased. A lot of those fears will be taken away from. So this is what we're trying to say here is that we're all about the community. We're all about helping the next generation. So whether it's through a direct programming, which some people call either Model A or Model C, or when it goes to either direct program or even a fiscal sponsorship, Team Unity is here to help. And we're helping not only our general organization, but other extended organizations that come to us and say, will you stand with us? Will you help us? Can we take this to the next level? And my response has always been, let's make history.
yeah, that's amazing. That's great what you're doing for the community, for the youth, for adults. I really think that is great, and I wish, again, going back, I was exposed to different things. Different sports, and just different organizations that, like you said about the Black Girl Magic. I wish I had something like that when I was younger. I am 42, so I was one of those kids that went outside and played. So I had a great childhood, but just just exposed to more. And um, your organization is really doing that for the youth of Harlem, and the rest of New York City if they decide to come to Harlem. I think that's really cool. Yeah. Um, Going back to the Harlem Skyscraper Classic, Cycling Classic. If no one's ever been, what what could they expect on the day? Like,
I want everyone to experience what we call that wow effect, like, wow.
Mm.
Because that portion of the city is only shut down twice a year. It's shut down once, excuse me, for the skyscraper, and the other time it's shut down is for the New York City Marathon. So going through that area is what they call the Harlem Mile. So those
Mm.
are the only two times that portion of the city is shut down. So that same enthusiasm when people come by and say, oh, excuse me, I'm at the New York City Marathon. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
So when folks come through, I want them to see something they have yet to see.
Yeah.
And that's professional cycling within the city of New York. I was told by certain city agencies, and they say, to be honest with you, Richard, they says once the skyscraper, whatever year it decides not to exist anymore, uh, you are the last.
Mm.
No other permits will be issued for professional cycling of this magnitude on the streets. Every year, I want everyone to experience history, and that's it. I want you to see history. I want you to see history come together. You know, like I said, the city goes through a lot to shut down that route, rerouting buses,
Mm-hmm.
paving the roads, cleaning, removing bollards. You know, so it's really a huge undertaking. And that's why, you know, I always take a look at my hair, losing my hair and getting gray. But in all seriousness, I want them, whoever comes for the very first time, to understand that history is being made in this community around the Marcus Garvey Park area. And if you go back in history, go back to the early 70s, you know, before it was called Marcus Garvey Park, it was called Mount Morris Park. You know, so some people still refer to as the Mount Morris community, whatever. This is history that you're seeing when you come to the Harlem Skyscraper.
Next year, I'll be a part of history. I'm a race. I'm gonna be a part of history.
So
So
what's your jersey size?
small.
Okay, so I'll make sure I order an extra small,
Mm-hmm.
an extra small jersey for you next year. And if you looked at the jerseys this year, they were a little different. And I thought I explained to folks a little different. They did not have the traditional skyscraper logo that you see behind us.
Mm-hmm.
That logo was not on the jersey this year. The jerseys were actually made up because they're a series that's going to highlight some of the buildings and some of the how would you say some of the programmable highlights
Mm-hmm.
of the village of Harlem. So the first series of jerseys highlighted the brownstones in Harlem.
Mm.
So if you took a look at them, you saw pictures of brownstones all over the jersey. Next year, we're not going to tell you what it's going to be, but it's going to be another highlight of our community. It's going to be placed on these jerseys. And that's going to go on for at least to the 60th anniversary
Great.
of the event. And then we're probably going to revert back to the tradition after then. But I encourage everyone. A lot of people were saying, you know, one person or two people tried to actually buy jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
We don't sell the jerseys of the same year that we're giving out to the competitors. You got to
Right.
at least wait at least one season or at least 1 or 2 seasons before we start selling those older jerseys. But, you know, this is becoming part of a series that we're putting together to highlight our community, give our folks something to collect in the cycling community.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah. And nervous at the same time. But hey, if you know me, I like a challenge. So this is another challenge. And something I can add to my list of things that I've done, you know, and yeah, looking forward to it. So what advice, well, do you still ride?
You know, I ride recreationally.
Mm-hmm.
So every once in a while, I get out the bike, take a nice little slow ride, whether it's in Harlem or throughout Westchester or the Bronx, you know, and just, you know, keep a low profile and just get out there and ride. And, you know, every so often, you know, a nice group of riders will come by and one of them will go. Happened to me about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was riding in of all places, downtown White Plains. And there were a group of riders just coming through downtown White Plains, and they happened to see me out there. And they were like, "Hey, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, it's good to see you. Thanks for all that you do." And every single one of them that came up to me and, they shook my hand, I gave them a discount code for
Oh,
registration.
well,
Yeah.
look at that.
So there is some benefits to stopping me and saying hello.
Okay. Um, okay. So since you still do ride, but leisurely, um, what what advice could you give to someone who's thinking about getting into cycling, regardless of their age or their fitness level? Like, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to stay consistent. You can't stop and go, stop and go. Very few people can just stop and go, stop and go. In order for you to get better at cycling, you need to really stay consistent. There are events taking place just about every week, whether it's in Central Park or Prospect Park, several events up and down the East Coast. Just stay consistent. The other thing is obviously do your proper training.
Mm-hmm.
Get in there, do your miles throughout the week, whether you're doing on the outside or the weather's not cooperating, do it on some rollers, but get out there and do your proper training. And the third thing I always tell folks, be very conscious of your nutrition
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to cycling. Cycling is an active sport. You don't want to get out there and eat anything or drink anything prior to you getting out there. That's going to, challenge your abilities. So it might be a time to take a look at your nutrition to actually, make sure things are working, working to your advantage. I mean, I'm not talking about get out there and eat like, 2 pounds of pasta, but, we're talking about you getting your proper nutrition in place. And then if I threw a fourth one in there, now I'm thinking about it, was something a lot of people don't do is getting your proper rest after training. Getting that rest, getting your body a chance to rebuild and regroup. So that's really some of the things I would give in terms of cycling. Now, some people always ask me, what advice will I give to folks racing the first time at the Harlem Skyscraper Cycling Classic?
Yes.
And I say to them, stick to the middle, stick to the middle. Don't ever get caught on the inside at Harlem. Stick to the middle or a little further out. Because if you get caught taking those turns too sharp, it's not going to be nice for you.
Okay. Stick to the middle.
Stick to the middle.
Stick to the middle. Okay. Well, I have some time.
You got some time to train.
Have some time to train mentally and physically to get there, because I think it is a mental thing. But okay, I like that. Good advice on both. Before we wrap up, if you could leave our listeners with one message about fitness, community, cycling, what would it be?
It would be thankful for what you have to work with, because every time folks get out there and say some of the challenges that they're facing is unattainable, they don't go back and take a look at the original working parts or the original skills that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep telling folks, be thankful for what you're working with. Be thankful for your foundation, because you never know from what you're building on could actually go further than what you believe others can give you to take you to the next level. So, it's how we also used to say, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Mm-hmm.
That still holds till today. I mean, folks really need to take a look at themselves and be thankful for what they're working with. And that's really the advice I give folks, whether it's in the athletic field, whether they're doing health, nutrition, whether they're being involved in the community engagement. As you can see, there's so many community activities that take place throughout all of our cities that start out for maybe 1 or 2 years, then it dies.
Right.
because folks don't believe in the skill set that they had originally put it together. They get things out there to get things going, and they believe that it has to be others to keep your motivation going. Others have to, no, you got your own skills, you got the project going, you keep it moving. You really got to do it that way. That's the advice I give folks.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. And like you mentioned earlier, the consistency, just keep at it. That's with anything. Just keep at it.
Yeah.
Something to come of it. Just keep at it. And
you got to keep rolling.
You got to keep rolling.
That's right.
Because once you stop, you're done.
That's right. You got to keep rolling because, even that term alone, the keep rolling, that means you're still in motion. Right. So that's something else, though, to just keep rolling.
Just keep
rolling.
rolling.
Matter of fact, every time I see you now, I'm going to say, keep rolling.
Keep rolling. I like it. I like it. I like it. Is there any other final words? Anything else you would like to say before we part ways?
No, I mean, I don't, you just said it, we're just parting ways just for today.
Just for today.
I'm quite sure at some point I might see you in another venue.
Yeah.
Since you said you might take a look at pickleball.
Yes, I gotta come back out to Harlem.
Right. So my parting words will be, I'll see you the next time.
I like that. I like that.
And we can perhaps have another interview based upon another condition what Team Unity's doing.
Yes, I would love that. Where can people find out more about Team Unity and the other events that you're doing?
There's several ways. You can go directly to www.teamunityinc.org. That's TEAMUNITYINC.org. Go directly there. That's also the same name that it falls under on Instagram as well. So Team Unity Inc. on Instagram, or Team Unity Incorporated, might spell it out. The same thing on Facebook, the same thing on X. So that alone will take you to all of our portals that will also talk about all of our sporting activities, as well as our health and wellness and nutritional programs as well. So that's where you can come find everything. TEAMUNITY Incorporated, Team Unity Inc. But actually now, even if you just put in Team Unity, it comes up. We actually, I wouldn't say won, but we have the word mark and trademark. I hope I'm using the right legal terms here for the term Team Unity. So if you look at the, if you take a look at the U.S. trademark website, you punch in Team Unity, it shows that we are actually the owners of that term, Team Unity.
Nice. All right. That's what's up. Well, Richard, I really appreciate you sitting down with me and talking with me again.
No problem.
And like you said, I'll see you soon.
Okay. And don't forget, keep rolling.
Keep rolling. This is the Rolling with Tay Podcast. I'm your host, Taja, aka Tay. Thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.